Hello friends, welcome to day 5 of 30 inks in 30 days. Before I get to today's ink, I wanted to show you the chromatography from yesterday, which I forgot to do in my video. So again, yesterday's was Colorverse's Martian, this beautiful, beautiful red-orange ink. That is one of my favorites. And the chromatography ended up doing this, just lots of yellows, kind of some browny reds. It didn't seem to do much, but pretty to look at. And as always, this little spot right here is where I rested the wet Q-tip. So yeah, yesterday's chromatography attached to the swatch card. Okay, for today's ink, I have Colorverse's Life on Mars, which is part of the Red Planet series, just like yesterday's ink. Here is the bottle. This is a really pretty muted blue-gray, almost into the teal family. I would actually, for me, I would place it in the teal family, which you may or may not know, teals are just some of my favorite colors. Unfortunately, my camera is really not picking up those blue-green qualities that I see with my eye. It really is only showing it as a very gray-toned ink. So I actually think this sticker is really very close to what the ink actually looks like. But again, in the camera, it looks a little more gray than it actually is. It shows less of the green-blue, which is unfortunate. And today, it's such a good match for this, my Franklin Christoph Model 3 in the antique glass. And this pen has their medium SIG nib. Oh shoot, where did I put my chromatography strips? I had cut a whole bunch of chromatography strips, and now I can't find them because I have organized myself too well. We'll just have to cut more. While we've been searching for life on Mars for quite a while now, almost 50 years, with a series of spacecraft, orbiters, and rovers, it has definitely been a subject of fascination for much longer than that. In 1854, William Whitwell of Trinity College in Dublin theorized that Mars had seas, lands, and maybe even life forms. And in the late 19th century, the quote-unquote Martian canals, which were actually optical illusions, gave rise to an explosion of speculation, including that the canals were perhaps the work of a long-dead civilization. So this inspired H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds in 1897, which famously terrified some Americans into believing a Martian invasion was happening, thanks to its realistic radio play by Orson Welles in 1938. Other famous stories of Mars include Rudyard Kipling's A Princess of Mars, John Carter of Mars, that series, etc., which was also made into a movie, oh my gosh, almost like what, 10 years ago now? More than 10 years ago now? Oh no, my sense of time. Ooh, we are gonna let that dry, so pretty. Life on Mars would be awesome even single-celled life, although I admit that in my heart of hearts, I want it to be the barge people of the canals. And that is a quote from author Sarah Monette. So this is just such a pretty shading ink. I really, really wish the blue-green tone would show up on the camera. It's such a lovely muted teal, and this video just doesn't do it justice. It shades really nicely in the medium sig nib. There's no shading, or excuse me, there is shading. There's no sheen. There's no shimmer. It only looks like a multi-shader here because of yesterday's ink coming through the page a little bit. But I absolutely love this ink, and I just really, really wish it showed up better on the camera for you. Then in my Dune transcription that I'm still working on this cognitive surplus paper that is 100% recycled, 81 GSM, it did really, really well. There is still some bleed through, just that's the nature of this paper. It holds fountain pen ink, it's just not super, it's just not made specifically for it, obviously. It has maybe a little bit of the shading showing up in some of the writing, but I think that's more the nib than the ink and paper itself. But it wrote nicely on the page, so very happy with it. The chromatography has had a little bit to dry now, so it starts out at this really bright highlighter kind of yellow, up through like lilac and into purple, and then this really bright blue. And then where the Q-tip rested, you can see how it kind of haloed out from a muddy green into a bright purple. So just a really neat chromatography. That is it for day 5. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.